Welcome to One Girl in All the World, a Buffy the Vampire Slayer rewatch podcast where we recap each episode in order and discuss. I'm Ashley, Buffy superfan.
I'm Kimmy, Buffy newbie.
You can find us on all major podcast apps, YouTube and Instagram, with new episodes on Tuesdays. All right, so today we are talking about Bewitched, Bothered, and Bewildered, which is a mouthful for me.
This was quite the episode.
Quite the episode, or like a...
It definitely wasn't bad. I gave it a good rating actually, but I just was like, wow, a lot happened.
It's the best Xander episode we've had out of the three.
Oh yeah, for sure. Yeah, Xander wasn't a complete dick in this episode, so yeah, huge improvement for him.
Yeah. So I have, if you're watching on YouTube, my setting for this week, I have at a house that has a big chalkboard behind me. So it says Buffy and Xander, Willow loves Xander, and your choice. I know who you'll pick, but either Joyce or Jenny, because the
Jenny obviously
loves Xander. And I could have kept going with all the women that love Xander in this episode.
There would be too many hearts.
There would be too many hearts. Yeah, so yes, it's a Valentine's Day episode, so I just drew hearts behind me and all the women that are loving Xander in this episode.
This is like one of those things where you learn, be careful what you wish for.
Yes. Yeah, and revenge.
Mm-hmm.
They say, there's that saying that says revenge is when, you take a poison and expect the other person to die. I always like that saying. It's it really just...
I don't think I've ever heard that
poisons. Yeah, it's it's bad for you. Yeah. You take a poison and expect the other person to die. Yeah. So yeah, there's a lot. It's a cautionary tale, this episode, for sure.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Okay, so... Bewitched, Bothered, and Bewildered aired on February 10th, 1998, written by Marty Noxon, which is probably why it's the best Xander episode we've had so far. One of my favorite writers, and directed by James A. Cordner. And the synopsis is... When Cordelia succumbs to peer pressure and breaks her off her tryst with Xander on Valentine's Day, he convinces a witch to put a spell on Cordelia which will make her fall in love with him. But when the spell backfires, the women in Sunnydale, except Cordelia, including Buffy and Drusilla, begin to see Xander in a whole new light. I should have put Drusilla up there too. I
already forgot about that because it was like a 30-second scene.
It was so good. Oh my gosh. I love how it's not even the dead women are the undead women are coming after Xander.
The spell reaches far.
Mm-hmm. Amy's powerful, even if she's a bit new. She's a new.
Yeah. Yeah, so I got the question last week wrong because I assumed she wasn't a witch.
Well, you said Amy or her mom comes back.
I did, yeah, but then I think I went with mom final answer.
It's okay.
Okay.
You were there.
Okay,
you were there.
Points.
You were there. I'll give it to you.
Sweet.
Okay, so actually the title, Bewitched, Bothered, and Bewildered, is from a Frank Sinatra song. Mm-hmm. So that's kind of where it's taken.
Such a good song.
Okay, yeah, you caught up on that. And the one thing that bothers me about this, this episode, one of the things I didn't like about it was that the timeline is just all over the place.
It doesn't make sense. Back and forth.
It doesn't make sense. It just, the timeline's everywhere. And we can start that problem with that Valentine's Day in 1998 was on a Sunday. But in Buffy, it was on a school day. So
okay. Good catch there.
So, I was looking at the behind the scenes stuff, and it was a goof.
That's funny.
But that's not really. I mean, that's a side timeline thing, but that's not actually in the episode that you would be like, oh, it says Valentine's Day Sunday in the background as a school day. But there are other things that just don't add up time wise. That just bothered me personally. But we'll get to those. So we open up in the graveyard, and we see is Buffy and Xander in the graveyard, and Xander is asking Buffy if he thinks he has a necklace, a little heart necklace. It's cute.
It's a locket, yeah.
It's a
locket? Yeah. It is really cute, actually.
Yeah.
I like it.
Whether it's a locket or not, I couldn't tell, but it is pretty.
Okay, yeah. It's definitely my style.
It's a silver little heart. Yeah, it's cute. And he's asking Buffy if he thinks Cordelia will like it, because he's going to give it to Cordelia. And in the background, they're sitting kind of patrolling, but they're just, most of patrolling is just sitting around and waiting for a vampire. Hanging out. And in the back we see a mausoleum that says Alpert on it. And apparently that was named after the producer, Mark D. Alpert. Oh. So I think you see it apparently several times throughout the show, but this is the first time we see it. Okay. Because in the first season, they shot in an actual graveyard. In the second season, they had like enough money and it was a full season, so they built a graveyard. So they have much more control.
Such a cool fun fact.
Over like what the graves said or like what the mausoleum said, because they aren't real. Okay. But in the first season, that's a real graveyard. So
cool.
So that's how they could kind of put little Easter eggs on the graves and stuff like that.
Interesting. All right.
So Buffy says that Cordelia is going to love it, even though Buffy is still kind of like...
She thinks that he could do better, which...
I think you could just find someone more better.
Yeah. Yeah.
She tries to be gentle.
Yeah. And I mean, just like, I see what she's saying. Yeah, I don't know. And then he's like in some other alternate universe. The only other person he's interested in is... And then he just looks at her.
Yeah. And he says like, unavailable or something. Like, it's sad. So this is like very much confirmed that he still has feelings for Buffy.
He still likes her. Yeah, I was kind of hoping he was over her, but
they didn't go away. His feelings didn't go away. He's just trying to move on. And he does like Cordelia. And he says like they're getting along more. They're fighting less. They have a very volatile relationship. Which is probably one reason why Buffy thinks like, I don't know if this is.
Because she's mean. Like, Cordelia's kind of mean.
Yeah, Cordelia's mean, and they just don't get... And her and Xander don't get along.
Yeah. They bring out the worst in each other.
Yeah, I would say that. So Buffy's like... She'll trying to be supportive, but also like, what are you doing? You know?
Yeah.
And Xander says he wishes that dating was like slang. It's like a much like clear cut. It's not as complicated.
No muss, no
fuss. I think
no muss, no fuss. But he gets cut off.
Yeah, because a vampire rises. Do they rise or do they just jump in?
Does it not only rise, it leapt out of the grave. Yeah. I was like, damn.
Yeah, I was like, whatever that vampire's on, I want some of it. Some undead juice. Yeah, and so Buffy fights the vampire, pretty much easily stakes it, and she's like, yeah, I don't know about that. Like, I don't know if it's simpler. And he's like, yeah, you're not dating Cordelia. Like, maybe dating is somebody normal, but dating Cordelia, probably it is that way. And so they just walk off, and they're done patrolling for the night, and then we go to the credits. In the quad, Cordelia walks up to Harmony and Co. Because, like, that blonde girl, remember we first saw her in the computer lab when Cordelia was being mean to Willow and the delivery key. That's when we saw Harmony. We didn't know who she was then. But that's Harmony, so she's kind of like another, like, co-leader of the popular girls. And
I thought Cordelia was Queen Bee until this scene.
Right. She definitely was, for sure. But I think Harmony was kind of like second in command, and then once they started knocking Cordelia off, then Harmony like stepped forward.
So mean.
The hierarchy is changing.
God, high school.
Yeah, so
Cordelia, like she's walking after them. She's trying to be like, "Hey, wait up for me," and they're just like they're snubbing her. They're like ignoring her. They're like not waiting up for her.
Yeah, and she wants to talk about their because Valentine's dance is happening, and she wants to make sure nobody's like wearing what she's wearing, like the colors. She's wearing black and red, so she tells one of the other girls, "So you're gonna have to change what you're wearing." Cordelia's still in there. Cordelia is still a bitch, but they're like, "Oh, don't you want to like dress like what Xander's gonna like? Does he like black and red?" They're just really being shitty about the Xander thing because the Xander like secret's out of the bottle now.
Yeah, I don't really know how that happened, but.
Because I don't think, like, Willow would run around. Like, the only people that really know are, like, their small little group.
Yeah, like, I'm not really sure what happened, but...
Someone could have seen them, but regardless, it's, like, it spread like wildfire through the school. So everyone knows that Xander and Cordelia have been hooking up.
Yeah.
And, they walk off because they're just, like, just kind of gross by her.
I hate them.
Yeah, they're pretty mean. In class... the teacher is telling everyone they have to turn their paper in or they're going to get an F. And I like when Xander's like, not today. He has to hold his paper up. He's like, this is my sweet ticket this is my ticket to a sweet D-. I'm not failing this time. He's very proud of the D- he's going to get because he's
to aspire for it.
Handing something in. Like, I thought it was so funny. He's so proud of himself. And actually in the background on the chalkboard, which I should have wrote it backwards if I could have managed it. It says Samuel Clemens, even though it's spelled wrong. Do you know who Samuel Clemens is?
No.
It's Mark Twain. That's Mark Twain's real name.
Really?
Yeah, so Mark Twain is a pen name.
Yeah, I didn't know that.
And I was like, I know Samuel Clemens. Like, I was like, oh, what's that author? Like, I know the name, and I googled it, and it was like Mark Twain. I'm like, that's right. That's Mark Twain's like actual name.
That's cool. Yeah, I didn't know that.
Yeah, but they spelled it wrong on the thing, so that teacher needs. These are my finger wagged at her. It says that she spelled Clemens with 2 M's, and it's only 1 M. So.
Okay.
Sorry for that PA. Whatever PA was tasked with writing that on there, they're forever known for writing it wrong. Yeah, so everyone's turning in the papers, and, well, before that, they're gathering their stuff, and Amy asked Willow and Buffy about the Valentine's Day dance.
At the bronze, and Willow's all like, my boyfriend's in the band.
Good for, oh, yes.
So cute.
So happy for Willow in this episode. Well, most of it.
Mostly.
Yeah. The first part of it, anyway. And Buffy says, oh, Valentine's Day is just a cheap gimmick to sell cards and candy. Amy's like, bad breakup, huh? And Buffy's like,
you have no idea.
Uh-huh. Yes. So Buffy is not on the Valentine's Day train this year because of Angel, obviously. So yeah, so they turn in their stuff in and filter out, and Amy is in front of Xander. Xander's kind of the last one. And we see that Amy uses a spell, some kind of influence.
Mind tricks.
On the teacher, and the teacher thinks she turned in a paper, but Amy doesn't give her anything.
No.
And Xander sees this and turns in his paper, and then Amy walks out. So he's noticed that she did this spell.
Yep.
And then in the hallway, Willow feels bad about Buffy being alone for Valentine's Day, that they're all going to go to this dance and she's going to be home alone or not be with them.
Yeah.
And she says that her mom and her are going to have a pig out vid fest, which is like a time-honored tradition for the Loveless, I think she said. Yeah, her and her mom have not had great luck lately with the men in their lives, so they're going to just have a pig out. That sounds fun, though, honestly.
It's a girl's night. It's cute.
Yeah, I like it.
I've done that on Valentine's Day before. I mean, we actually, one year, we got together and we watched, like, a group of us, To All the Boys I've Loved Before.
Yeah.
That was Valentine's Day.
Yeah, that's about when they released it.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's fun, whether you're single or not. That's fun.
Girls are funner dates. Honestly, on Valentine's Day. Yeah. So
honestly, I'd rather hang out. Well, I know you don't like Joyce, but I'd rather have the type of Valentine's Day that Buffy's having than the dance.
Exactly.
So
Same.
don't feel bad for Buffy, even though she is bummed, obviously. Okay. Xander catches up with them and says, "Hey, I just saw Amy doing a spell to put the mojo on the teacher, not turn the thing in and to paper in." And Buffy is like, "Oh, Amy's the last person that should be getting into magic, considering what it did to her mom."
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So they're concerned about that, but it kind of is quickly moved on because
Giles walks up.
Giles walks up, wants to talk to. He said, "Buffy, can I have a word?" And she says,
"Can I have a word?
Have a sentence, even."
Yeah,
she's a smart ass. And they're about to talk, and then Jenny bumps into them, the whole group as well, and it's very awkward.
Yeah, it is super awkward.
Buffy
looks pissed.
She just looks at the ground. She won't even look at her.
No.
And so Jenny tries to talk to Rupert, and he calls her Miss Calendar.
Yeah, I noticed that. Ooh.
Which that was like, Jenny, you could see her face, reacts to that. Like, that's a slap for her. Because they were, dating and having, I don't know if they did it. You probably did do it at this point.
I'm assuming, yeah.
Yeah. So they, they had a relationship. So hearing him, revert to, a professional Miss Calendar thing. Is hurtful to her, and she wants to talk to him. She wants to try to mend things with him, and he says, I actually don't have time right now. I'm gonna talk to Buffy. Yep. And then they take off, and Miss Calendar just kind of takes off as well. So it did not go well, and you could tell everybody's still really raw about the Miss Jenny. I call her Miss Jenny, the Jenny situation.
Yeah. And
then we know that's very clear because in the library, Buffy kind of checks on Giles.
Yeah.
Which is cute. She's like, "Are you okay?" And he's like, "I'll be fine." It's so sweet.
Yeah.
But the reason that Giles wanted to talk to Buffy was that he wants to warn her that he's been doing some reading on Angel's past. And that you're shaking your head. That Angel has a tendency to show kind of brutal displays of in his mind, affection around Valentine's Day.
It's so crappy.
Yeah, and Buffy's the Slayer. Like, she's seen some shit, even so far. We're only on season 2. And he won't tell her what he's learned.
No, I know. He's just like, you just have to stay off the streets for a few days.
Yeah, just don't, like...
He's like, I'll patrol.
Slay. Yeah, don't patrol. Okay, yeah, if Angel's out looking for Buffy and he finds you, is that a better thing?
No,
like,
definitely
come on.
not. No.
But he's, protective, and he's like, I'll go out and take the risk, which is sweet. So yeah, Buffy's like, great. And he's like, better safe than sorry. And she says, I think it's too late for both.
Aww.
That she's sorry and she's not safe.
Yeah.
So that's sad.
Yeah.
At the factory, Spike gives
This
Drew...
was quite the scene.
yeah, a necklace for Valentine's Day.
And then he's like, nothing but the best gift for my girl. And he gets cut off because Angel comes in and throws a real live heart. Well, not live, I guess. A heart, like, in front of her. And she's just like, woo!
And she says, it's still warm.
It's so gross.
And he says, I found it in a quaint little shop girl. And she's obviously much more into Angel's gift than Spike's.
She is. Well, and then Angel looks at the necklace and he's like, cute. And Spike's just like, oh my god, he wants to lose his shit on Angel.
Screw you, dude. There's definitely a love triangle kind of thing going on here.
So, like, is Angel interested in Drew romantically?
He has been obsessed with her in the past.
I thought, yeah, but
And they have had a relationship in the past, I will say. Like,
okay.
I think definitely
Interesting.
There's been a lot of mixing and stuff. But Spike is very, like, monogamous. He does not like that. He's not, like, happy to, like, go with other people and have Drew go with other people. That's not Spike. He's very monogamous. Yeah. So that's why he is so annoyed that he's being, like, upshown, basically, about the Valentine's Day gift. And Angel puts on the necklace for Drew, and and Spike's getting, like, a little territorial about it.
And then Angel's just like, it's easier if I just do things for Drew.
Yeah, when he said, like, I understand Drew gives you pity access.
Oh my god.
What is that? Did he mean, like, oh, she just lets you, she's with you for pity?
I guess, but, like, I mean, it doesn't really make sense.
I was like, what does that mean exactly? Like, I wasn't sure. But yeah, we can see that Spike's getting a little bit better. His face is clearing. Yep. Like, he's starting to heal. Mm-hmm. So, thumbs up for that, for poor Spike. And
is it a thumbs up, though?
For me, it is.
Okay, Ashley.
You need to get out of that wheelchair.
Tamper down on Team Spike.
I can't help it. I'm not a Spike apologist before you guys come at me, but I am a fan. So, yeah, he's like, why don't you worry less about Drew and worry more about this Slayer that you still haven't done anything about. He said you could take care of it. Yeah. And he said he's still deciding what to give Buffy. And Spike says, well, why don't you just rip her lungs out? That would send a message. Angel says that lacks poetry. And I like what Spike says, it doesn't have to. What rhymes with lungs? And it's funny that we have a little poetry thing with Spike here because poetry is important to Spike, that we will come to find out down the line. Okay. Yeah, and then, okay, so we go to the Valentine's Day party. And Xander is kind of fiddling with the gift box. You can tell he's kind of nervous.
So nervous.
Yeah. And
Oz is playing, and Willow looks so happy.
And he's like looking at. I was like, oh my gosh, it was like the
That's
feels.
So cute.
He's like looking at her from the stage, and she's watching him. It is so cute.
Yeah.
And he's changed his hair again, which is always his hair is a different color. It's like blonde now. Yeah, it goes like red, dark, blonde. Like, it goes all over the place. He always has different hair.
And, like, I love how Willow calls herself a little groupie.
Yeah, she said, I think I'm a groupie. And it's like, great, Will. I'm happy for you. And Cordelia comes in and is once again tries to approach her friends and is rejected.
I call this she got mean girled.
Yeah, she got mean girled again. She keeps going back. She keeps trying to just forget about it and, like, try to just approach them, but they're not letting her forget about the Xander stuff. At Buffy's house, Joyce and Buffy have all an array of, like, snacks, like cookies and popcorn and all the good stuff laid out. And they're watching a movie. I don't think we see. Maybe when Buffy comes back into the room, I didn't notice what was on the TV. But they're watching their movie, and there's a knock at the front door. And so Buffy gets up to get it. There's no one there. She goes back into the living room. Her mom's not there. So she walks into the kitchen and she hears like a rustling outside. And she's like, obviously she's on edge because she knows about the warning that Giles gave her. And then her mom comes in through the back door and kind of scares Buffy. But her mom said, oh, there was a knock at the back door and someone left this for you. And it's a black long box. Obviously it's a flower box. And Buffy opens it and there's red roses and it's just a card that says soon.
Yeah, that's so
And her mom
creepy.
doesn't even seem concerned. Like, that's creepy.
Well, especially the way Buffy's like, Buffy doesn't have much of a poker face. She, like, her face looks super scared, and her mom's just like, whatevs.
Yeah, her mom's like, what is this? Like, if my 17-year-old daughter got a left that on their porch with something like that, an ominous type of, like, threatening note, I would be all over it.
Even if it wasn't a threatening note, you would show some sort of interest.
Yeah. But her mom's kind of like, oh, you got flowers.
No points for Joyce.
No points for Joyce. So we're back at the Bronze, and Xander sees Cordelia and walks over to her, and Cordelia compliments his outfit, which I do. Maybe it's 2023 looking at 1998.
I like
but
his outfit.
I think it's hideous.
I like it.
The lapel is way too big, I feel like. It's like he's from the 70s.
I mean, I thought he looked good at least anyway in that outfit.
Yeah, well, Cordelia likes it. And he said that he let Buffy dress him. Not literally.
Cordelia wasn't a huge fan of that, though. And she says he's making things hard. And as soon as she says it, I was like, oh no, my stomach dropped for him.
Yeah. And he gives her the necklace. She really is receptive to it. She really likes it.
She does actually like it, yeah.
But then I want to break up.
It would be hard to pick something, It would be so hard to pick something out for her because she seems so picky.
Yeah. And like if it's not expensive and whatever, she thinks she would stick her nose about it. So yeah, she likes it and is very touched, and then immediately says she wants to break up.
That's so mean.
And rightfully so. Xander has a little bit of whiplash.
And she's like, we don't fit. And he's like, any day but Valentine's Day? What the fuck? Has anybody been broken up on Valentine's Day? Hi.
You have?
Oh yeah.
That's terrible. You couldn't literally wait 24 hours.
Right? Yeah.
Oh my God, that's terrible. And it's prefaced, like, he gives her the necklace, but he gives her this little speech too, where he's like, I think that we see something special in each other.
Yeah.
And all this, like, he's starting to get emotional, like, open up to her, and then she immediately dumps him.
She sucks. Because, like, the thing is, I don't think she actually wants to break up with him. She just does because she wants to be popular, which is stupid.
Yeah, just like the synopsis said, it's peer pressure. She just falls into peer pressure. And so Xander just kind of slinks away. Like, what can he say? Besides, why'd you do it today? And she does apologize and says she didn't mean to do it this way. But, okay. Hay is for horses. Like, oh well. In the hallway, the next day at school, Xander's walking down the hallway, and you can tell everybody's, like, whispering and pointing at him. So everybody knows that Cordelia dumped him.
Yep. It's so, like, I mean, like, and this is so high school.
Yes. Buffy rushes by, and he tries to talk to her, but she's like, I gotta go, Angel. Like, so obviously she's rushing to tell Giles about the flowers.
She doesn't need help, which makes him feel crabby.
Yeah, so she doesn't have time to talk about Cordy and all that with him. He passes Cordelia and Harmony and all of them, and they say, Harmony says, oh, maybe you should learn a second language, that way you can get rejected by even more girls. And they're all laughing. God, and Cordelia's sitting there with them and, like, letting it happen, but she doesn't laugh.
No.
So you can tell she feels bad.
Not bad enough.
Not bad enough to say something, yeah. So Xander sees Amy walking by, and he, like, kind of drags her away into private, like a private area to tell. Basically, he blackmails Amy into doing a spell for him. Because
he wants respect. He wants to come out ahead. He wants the Hellmouth working for him.
For once. I want the Hellmouth to work for me.
Lofty aspirations.
Yeah. And he's like, you know what? I may have to talk to someone. Like, who's he going to tell? I can't remember. Because, like, if you told, like, the principal, oh, Amy did a spell on the teacher, like, they're going to believe him anyway. Yeah, like, exactly. Was he going to, maybe he was going to tell Giles or something? But, yeah, so he basically blackmails her about using the magic to get out of homework.
Yep. They
go into the classroom, and Xander reveals that he wants Amy, to do a love spell on Cordelia.
But I like how she says, like, intent has to be pure with love spells. And then he's like, my revenge is pure as snow.
Yeah, it's the driven snow.
Like, she warns him, like, this is not a good idea. And he's just steamrolling ahead like a big old dumbass.
Yeah, you're doing it for the wrong reasons. I don't know if a love spell can be done for the right reasons, but
I guess that's true. You're right.
definitely his is not.
Mm-hmm.
And he's only doing it so he can dump Cordelia.
Yeah.
So he can, like, dump her first.
This is terrible.
Yeah, he's just butthurt, and he just wants to get her back. But
apt description.
Yeah, and so Amy is hesitant and doesn't think it's a good idea, but she has to save her own hide, so she says, okay, she'll do it. But to do that, she needs a personal object from Cordelia.
Mm-hmm.
In the library, Buffy confronts Giles about Angel's past behavior. She, like, slams down the soon note and is like, I need to know. Like, you never withheld from me until, like, the big bad was Angel. And she says big bad in the dark or something like that. But this is the first time we hear this term, big bad, that will be used through, like, the whole show.
Oh, okay.
Which is basically, like, the big bad is, like, the major villain of each season. So that's what you would say. Like, the big bad of the first season is the Master. The big bad of the third, I won't tell you the season. But you know what I mean? Like, each season has, like, the big bad, which is, like, the big villain of the season. So this is the first time we kind of get that term.
Angel's the big bad.
Yes.
Okay.
I mean, we're like 7 episodes from the end of season 2.
I was just like, we're so close to the end, and we haven't had, like, we don't have a villain like the Master. So
that's a fair, I would say fair. I don't think that's really a spoiler. I think obviously Angel is gonna keep going until it's dealt with at the season finale. Yeah. Okay, yeah. So he agrees that he will tell her the dirty details of what Angel has been up to in the past, so she can prepare herself. In the hallway, Xander is coming after Cordelia. She runs.
Yeah, the scene's a little heartbreaking. Like, I felt like this. Like, he asked for the locket back, and she's like, it was a gift. And he's like, yeah, well, I want it back anyway, basically. She's like, it's in my locker. So she goes to get it. And then this, I connected with her a lot on this. I was just like, oh, she's not this terrible, evil person. She opens her locker, and she hides herself from his view. And what does she do? She, like, pulls it out from under her shirt because she's wearing it. Because she likes the locker, and she likes him. And why can't she just get over herself?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Anyway.
Yeah, it was sweet. She was, like, hiding it, wearing it secretly with her shirt buttoned all the way up.
Mm-hmm.
But she doesn't want to let him know that. She doesn't want anyone to know that she's wearing it.
So dumb.
So she pretends to get out of her locker and gives it to him.
So prideful. And then she's like, no, I don't have to pretend I like it.
Already. God.
So mean.
So bad.
And that just fuels more things for him.
That's not going to help. Yeah, Xander's situation, he's like, we're doing this now. We're doing this for sure.
Let's go.
And so that night in a classroom, we see Amy and Xander doing a spell. Xander's sitting in a circle on the ground with some, like, markings on his chest. And Amy is doing the spell, and she calls Diana goddess of the love and the hunt. Which, when I heard this, it took me right to Princess Diana's funeral, because her brother did her eulogy, and he talked about the irony of her being named Diana. Like, one of the most beloved people on the planet, and also one of the most hunted. Because that's what her name stands for. And I always remembered that, like, line from his eulogy, and that's what made me think of this, because, like, the love and the hunt.
Interesting.
Goddess of love and the hunt. But yeah, saying that his love, his will be done by the person he loves or whatever, and then tells him to blow out a candle that he's holding, so he blows it out. I think this is like I said student lounge. It's kind of like in that area. Xander walks in the next day and he's like, yeah, okay, here we go. Time to get revenge. And he's strutting in. He goes up to the table with Cordelia and everybody's there. And he's like, hey. And she's like, what is wrong with you? Like, get away from me.
No, she's like normal. Like, she's not,
He's like, is this what love looks like I do? It, like, doesn't look different. It's hate.
And then she talks about the necklace, like, as a small march looking thing. Damn!
Yeah. She's brutal.
That's so mean.
She is really brutal.
Holy crap.
So he kind of just, like, slinks away, like, oops. Like, obviously this spell did not work. She still does not like me.
So awkward.
She's definitely not in love with me. So he just kind of slinks away, like, oops. In the library, poor Giles poor Buffy, is reading out of, like, a journal about stuff that Angel has done on Valentine's Day. And one Valentine's Day, he nailed a puppy
And
dot,
stop.
dot, dot. And Buffy's like, I don't want to hear it. I don't have a puppy. I don't want to hear
Skip
this
it.
one. Skip it. Skip it. And yeah, so Giles goes to get the next batch of stories about
God.
Angel on Valentine's Day.
So
So
horrible.
it's a long and sordid history.
Isn't Valentine's Day over though, by the way, at this point? Wasn't Valentine's Day yesterday?
Yeah, well, yeah, it's unclear. I think
I guess that's true.
but he
Because,
said
like, I mean, that's when they had the dance. That's when Buffy and her mom were doing the movie
yeah,
thing.
it probably is, but he does say around Valentine's Day.
I guess so, yeah.
And Angel was still hemming and hawing about what to get her, so I think it's
Okay.
a bit fuzzy, but I think it's okay. No, I agree though. This timeline is not. It's muddied in this episode. I agree. Xander comes in and talks to Buffy, and she says, yeah, she heard about him and Cordy, and says, you know what? It'd be great if like we just did something together, like just the two of us. And of course, Xander makes a stupid remark. He's like, oh, would that lap dancing be involved with that?
So gross. Ew.
But then Buffy's like, well, if you play your cards right. And Buffy starts like getting...
And like, when she said this, I thought she was kidding.
Mm-hmm.
But...
Yeah. And she starts getting close to him, being like, I was surprised how glad I was when I heard that you and Cordy were over, and that sometimes you see someone's right in front of you, but you don't really see them, and she's getting very close. And you're like, I mean, I knew better, but...
I didn't. I was sitting there and I'm like,
because you remember in
now?
the last episode when they exchanged a moment?
Yes, exactly. So, but I mean, this is too much.
Yeah.
So I'm just like, what? I'm kind of confused at this point because I'm like, this isn't very Buffy-like either.
Yeah.
You're talking about lap dances and playing your cards, right? Like, that's not like her.
Yeah. So they're about to like kiss, and then Amy comes in and interrupts them. And Amy's like, Xander, can I talk to you? He says, yeah, reluctantly. And he goes out into the hallway with her. And she says, yeah, this spell didn't work. He's like, yeah, no, I know it didn't work. Like, it's fine. I shouldn't have done it. And he's keeps like looking back into the library at Buffy, because Buffy's like seductively looking out the window at him, through the window at him. And he wants to just get back in there. So he's kind of like half listening to what Amy's saying. But then Amy says, well, we don't have to do a spell. We can just hang out. Like,
and this is where I'm catching on, and I'm like, oh no.
What? And then she starts repeating the same line Buffy said about sometimes you don't see someone that's right in front of you. And that's when it dawns on Xander that,
it's weird that they say the same thing.
Mm-hmm. It is the spell in some way. So they went wonky. It didn't work, but it worked in some way.
Yeah. And then some random chick walks up to him.
Yeah. And says, hey, we're in the same class. Can we study together? And then Amy kind of snips at her, but hey, we were talking. So they're starting to get a little bit annoyed at each other. And Xander's like, okay, bye. I'm leaving. I am leaving. Xander goes home into his room. And surprise, Willow puts the covers back and she's in his bed waiting for him.
Oh my god, I was like, wait, what?
And I could see like why like Willow is so extreme even at this point compared to the other girls, because she already loves him. I'm guessing.
I was wondering at this point, because like, and Buffy does say something about that later on about Willow already loving him. But I was just like, I was wondering if, I don't know if this is a thing, but like, the only person the spell didn't work on was Cordelia, and I was wondering if it was because Cordelia loved him.
Mm-hmm.
Like, and then I was kind of like, does Willow actually love him, or does she just have a huge crush on him?
I would say, because Giles does say that the necklace inadvertently, because it was Cordy's necklace, protected her from the spell.
Okay.
Because Amy kind of like messed it up. Because I do think if that was the case, it's early days with like Willow, and Willow's infatuated with Oz right now. But I would say like if it came down to it, she's still in love with Xander.
Okay, that's fair then.
Personally, I would say that she's not separated quite that much from him. So that's why I think like Willow's reaction is very extreme compared to the other people.
Okay.
And I think that maybe because a lot of that stuff was already there for her.
Yeah. Okay. So
Pre-spell.
It's just exaggerated.
She's already further along.
She wants Xander to be her first.
Right away. Yeah. And Xander's like, no. Okay, let's just calm down. And she comes, she's like sucking on his ear.
Bites his ear. Yeah, I was like, what is she doing?
Yeah, and he's like, I don't want to use force. She's like, force is okay. I'm like, Willow.
God, yeah, I know.
Who is this girl? Yeah, and then he just runs.
Yep.
He's like, stop, it's time for me to be a man. And I'm going to run and hide. And so he takes off. And poor Willow's just like, oh, no, what happened? Back at school in the hallway, Cordelia comes up to her friends again. And they are now mean to her because she dumped Xander. And she's like, what? Like, Harmony says only a sick puppy would let Xander go, no matter what her friends thought. And Cordelia is just like, what does it take with you people? Yeah. Like, basically broke up with them because you didn't like him, and now you're mad at me because I broke up with him. And Xander has a very long montage of him walking back into the school, and all the girls are like, ooh,
notices him.
Salivating over him.
So weird.
Xander goes into the library, and he confesses to Giles what he's done.
I'm glad he does this.
Yeah, I mean, before it got even more out of control.
Giles is pissed.
Giles is really annoyed at him. Jenny comes in, again, to try to talk to Giles and apologize. And then immediately notices Xander, like, oh, nice shirt. And then she's trying to talk to Giles, and then she's distracted again, like, oh, do you work out? And Giles is like, oh, my God, no. Like, it's happening right now. And he literally moves Jenny away from Xander, because he's like, oh, great. And Giles really goes off at Xander, saying, like, people under a love spell are deadly. They lose all capacity for reason. Like, they will kill each other. They could kill you. Like, they will go that far because they are just have no reason left. So Giles,
tells him to stay in the library.
Stay in the library.
Grounded.
And Giles is going to go find Amy he said, oh, did you find Amy? Was she able to reverse a spell? And he's like, she just wants to talk honeymoon plans when I come near her. So Giles is going to talk to her. And he goes to leave and then comes back and takes Jenny with him because he can't leave Jenny in the room alone with Xander, which is so funny. Xander tries to barricade the door, which we have seen them do countless times already.
But somehow he does it in a way that Buffy can walk right in.
But now the doors swing both ways. The doors open both ways now. Okay. Like, they're unhinged now, like, where they can open both ways. Before, they could only open in.
Okay.
And that's why vampires couldn't get in and all kinds of stuff.
So Buffy's wearing a cute little trench coat. I was like, what is that? Is there anything under that?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Buffy's coming in, like, black heels, black trench coat, very short trench coat, obviously naked underneath. And definitely comes on to Xander and lays it on pretty thick that it's a party, don't you want to open your present? And Xander's like, ah! Like, freaking out, falls on the stairs. And she's, like, really, like, coming on to him strong. And he basically says, like, I can't do that. Like, if this was even a little bit real, like, it would mean so much to me, but I know it's not really how you feel.
I give him a little credit for not taking advantage of the situation, because he could have.
It would be very Xander to do so.
Yep. Yeah.
And from what we've seen so far.
Yeah.
And yeah, he's just like, no, like, so many feelings for you, and if this was real, I would be all about it, but it's not. So he's like, I can't do that.
And then Amy walks in, and she's like, get away from him, he's mine.
Yeah, and there's a little fight ensues over Xander.
God.
And Buffy punches Amy.
And Amy turns her into a rat.
And Amy does a spell and turns Buffy into a rat. She, like, skids off.
God. Ugh.
Giles comes in with Jenny and just sees Buffy's, well, he doesn't know it's Buffy's, but he's like, they're looking at this, like, trench coat, and he's like, what happened? He's like, Buffy. And then we see the rat crawl out of the sleeve, and Buffy, like, crawls behind a bookshelf. And the reason they had Buffy turn into a rat instead of some other plot storyline for Buffy is because Sarah Michelle Gellar was filming Saturday Night Live that week.
Oh,
so they needed to write her out of some of the episodes so she could film that.
That's so funny. Okay.
Yeah. In the hallway, Harmony smacks Cordelia about Xander. So, like, now she's getting, like, beat up from the girls about hurting Xander. In the library, Giles...
Wait, sorry, can we go back?
Yes.
Okay, we missed a couple good lines.
Okay, go ahead.
After Buffy's turned into a rat, Amy's like, who made you queen of the world, to Jenny? I guess you're old enough to be. And then Jenny's like, I guess Xander's too much man for the pimple squad.
Yeah, so now Amy and Jenny are...
Oh my God.
Are, like, facing up against each other about Xander. Because now they're fighting over him. Yeah. So Giles takes his coat off and is like, okay, we have to catch Rat Buffy. And so Xander and Giles are looking for Buffy when Oz comes in. Interesting action from Oz here, because he is so placid. He's so, this is not like Oz. That Oz punches Xander in the face. And Xander's like, what was that for? He said he was on the phone all night with Willow crying about him. This happened like hours ago. How would he been up all night on the phone with her? So that doesn't make sense. That line does not make sense.
Well,
he couldn't have been up on the phone all night.
That's what I was wondering about, actually. So when I thought when Xander went to his room, he was going to bed, and then I thought when, like, the school, I thought this happened, like, I thought this was again the next day, like, when they cut
he's wearing the same clothes.
Oh, I didn't even
And, like, he runs out of the room.
Okay, you're right.
He runs out of the room, and then he shows back up at school.
Good catch. All right.
I mean, I could be wrong, obviously,
no,
but
I think you're right. Okay.
I feel like it was all the same day.
Yeah.
Everything else points to it being, like, the spell only lasts a day.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, okay.
They do it the night before. Yeah, I think it's the same day. I think it's just...
No, I think you're right, yeah. Okay.
It just didn't make sense to me.
Yeah.
But Oz was upset that Xander had upset Willow. And so he punches him. But then he kind of was like, okay, man, it's all right. Like, I just had to do it. And but when this is happening, Rat Buffy escapes. We see her go out the door, out of the library door. Giles tells Xander just to go home and just stay there. You get out of my sight. And he's like, if anything happens to Buffy, and he doesn't finish.
Yeah.
Because this is all Xander's fault.
Yep.
So he tells Xander to go home. He will work on the spell, breaking the spells, and he asks if Oz will look for Rat Buffy. So Oz has been enlisted to look. It's on pest duty, looking for Buffy. In the hallway, so Xander's on his way out. In the hallway, he sees Cordelia being attacked by all the girls.
Oh my God, and he like runs in there and he saves her. He like picks her up and carries her up. Like, this is the stuff cute movies are made of. Cute movie scenes are made of. I liked that scene, actually.
Yeah, so he comes to her rescue, and they run off together. So Amy, Jenny, and Giles are in the library, and Giles has like had enough of these two, complaining, like kind of like having a pissing contest about who's better for Xander, whose love is real. I like when he says, instead of making me ill, will you guys help me? Because he's just like disgusted. Like, that they are mostly Jenny, I'm sure. Like, disgusted that Jenny's, like, into Xander now.
Yeah, and he's like,
even though he knows the spell.
He's trying to tell them it's like, it's not love, it's obsession.
Yeah. And if you really cared about him, you'd help me save him because he's in danger. And Giles says that Amy accidentally protected Cordy by using the necklace, but it should be easily reversed. They should be able to easily reverse the spell. And so he's yelling at Amy when he turns to Jenny, and Jenny's gone. Yeah. She walks out, and he's like, "Great!" Giles in this episode is so funny. He just can't. He's so. All the women are crazy, and he's mad at Xander. So he's on his own. He's just the only sane person left. In the quad, Xander and Cordelia are attacked by a mob. That's led by Willow, who has a axe.
What the heck?
And she's already gone to murderous right away after he rejected her.
Crazy.
Yeah, and he's like, I'd rather you be you be dead than be with that bitch. It was his Cordelia.
Yeah. Damn.
And she's crying and comes at him, and they manage.
All the girls start fighting.
Yeah, I mean it's madness. And then we go to the basement where we see Buffy go into the basement. Oz happens to be in the basement looking for her, and we see Buffy kind of there's a cat down there, and the cat hisses, and Buffy's like, ooh. Oh no, there's a danger down there. The cat could get Buffy. Xander and Cordelia run to Buffy's house, and they are knocking on the door. Joyce lets them in, and she's like, what happened? Where's Buffy? And everything. And Xander's face is all scratched up from the girl's nails. And Joyce says, Cordy, go upstairs and get some bandages and everything, and then you can tell me what's going on. But almost immediately, it's clear that Joyce is not immune to the spell as well.
She's trying to offer him drinks, and she's like a cold drink or a hot drink. Seems like more of a hot night. I like
how Xander just is Blop. He just collapses his head on the counter and just like gives up. He's like,
I can't handle this anymore.
he's like, not you too.
Well, yeah, and then, like, I love how Cordelia comes back down. She's like, get your mom-aged mitts off my boyfriend. And then says, former.
Yeah, corrects herself pretty quickly. And she throws Joyce out, basically. Puts her out the back door and locks it. So she locks Joyce out of the house.
The only thing to get so many girls to like you is witchcraft.
Yeah.
It's the nail on the head.
And Xander's all like, okay, well, yeah. Because that's exactly what happened. And Joyce tries to break in. She, like, breaks one of the little windows and is, like, trying to... And she's like, sweetheart, let Joycey in. Like, ew.
Yeah, no, that was gross. Yeah, Joycey.
Joycey.
Yeah.
So they run up to Buffy's room, and they're looking out the window. Of course, Buffy left the window... Buffy, what are you doing? Like, leaving the window open? You know the angel can just walk into your house. Like, at least close and lock the window.
Yeah.
Anyway. But, so the window's open. He's looking outside. He's like, okay, the mob hasn't found us. And then Angel shows up. Like, the craziness of this episode. Shows up, grabs Xander, wants to know where Buffy is, and then just throws him out into the yard.
Oh my
off
God,
the second
so
floor.
crazy. Yeah, off the roof.
Off the roof, yeah.
Damn.
In the basement, Rat Buffy, now I guess the cat left her alone, and now she's like coming up on a rat trap. So many dangers for Rat Buffy in the basement.
It's such a weird side story. I feel like they could have maybe came up with something else, but whatevs.
Yeah, I like her being the rat.
But like the cat and the mouse trap were a little...
Yeah, like...
I don't know.
I know.
I
Yeah.
could have done without those two things, but anyway.
Yeah. I think her just being a rat and could get lost forever is a pretty big threat. Like, they could just never find her.
Yeah.
I guess wherever she would be if they stopped the... They just don't want her to get killed before they can reverse the spell, I guess.
Yeah.
At Buffy's house, or in her front yard, really, Angel is going to kill Xander. He's like, I wanted to do something for Buffy, but this is good, too. I want to do something to her. But if I kill you, that's a pretty good Valentine's Day present. And he's about to bite him.
But Drew jumps in and she's like, Mummy's here. And I'm like,
Drew
what?
saves Xander. And Angel's like, what are you doing? Not here for it. Angel's not here for it. And yeah, Drew saves him, loves him, wants to turn him.
Yeah, how do you feel about
him.
eternal life?
I like when Drew says something like, oh, your face is poetry or is poetry or something like that. And Xander says, does it happen? And he say, spare me. And then she says, how do you feel about eternal life? He's like, could we just start with a coffee? Xander has a lot of good lines in this. It's funny.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it's about him now to turn him so she could keep him forever. But then the mob finds them and that stops. Drew can't bite him.
Yeah.
And they all start like, Cordelia runs out, grabs him. They run into the house. It's kind of like chaotic. They close the front door, but the back door, Drew just pushes down, but she can't go in.
Yeah.
And did you notice how she like, boom, like, that's how it usually is.
Yeah.
Like that's like more typical of like when vampires try to go in someone, it's that kind of sound effect and they like bounce back off of it like a force field. That's the first time I think we've seen that. It's been like weird other things.
Okay.
Before this, I think. Yeah, and Angel's standing by a tree. He's like, sorry, can't go in, Drew. You're not invited. Like, and Drew's so annoyed because all the other girls are running in the house and Drew can't go in. In the science lab, Giles and Angel start reversing the spell. So they're working on it. They're working on reversing the spells. And we're in a couple basements here. So in Buffy's basement, Xander and Cordelia run in there. They're in the basement again. They end up in the basement a lot together, I feel like. And Xander kind of unintentionally confesses that the spell was actually for her.
Yeah.
And she kind of seems touched about it a little bit instead of
she did actually
completely violated.
Yeah.
Which I think would be a normal reaction.
Yeah. Like she said something about him using black arts to get girls to like him, and he's like, it would have worked fine except your hide is so thick that not even magic can penetrate it. And that's when she kind of like clicks like the spell was for her, and she's just like, oh.
Yeah, she's kind of not upset about it.
No, she thinks
it's sweet.
Weirdly sweet. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. In the science lab, as Buffy is about to get caught in the rat trap, Amy reverses the rat spell.
Yep.
And I think Oz is like, Buffy.
Funny.
And then like there's like a little like bright lights and stuff, but we don't see him quite yet. We don't see her quite yet. And back in Buffy's basement, the mob gets through the door and is closing in on Xander and Cordelia. Just at the same, there's a lot of cutting back and forth, so I kind of just
it's a lot,
consolidated. Amy and Giles reverse the spell, and there's nowhere else for Xander and Cordelia to go. Like, there's nowhere else to run now. They're in the corner of the basement, and they're on the ground. Everybody's like scratching them. I love it. There's the lunch lady. Did you see the lunch lady?
Yeah, that was good. Yeah.
She's my favorite of all the women in the mob. Willow's there. Everybody's there.
Yeah.
And at the last minute, the spell is reversed, and everybody's like, where am I?
Confused.
Very confused. Yeah. And I think, who's it? Xander says, wow, that was a crazy scavenger hunt. Like, trying to come up with a cover story.
And everyone's like, kind of like, okay.
Yeah, like,
right.
what? Like, we weren't confused already. Now we are very, very confused.
Yeah.
In the basement, Buffy pops up behind some boxes. And I was like, oh, there you are. And he immediately shines the light away from her. You can tell she's naked.
Yeah, well, he's like, he says hi, I think. Or she says hi. And then she's like, I seem to be having a slight case of nudity.
He's like, yeah, but not rat. So that's good. This is like funny. They don't think they've ever really had us seen the two of them. So it's interesting. Yeah. So he's going to get her some clothes. And he says, like, don't go anywhere. She's like, yeah. Not going to happen. I'm naked. So that was a cute scene.
Yeah.
In the hallway, so after, Buffy and Xander are talking about the spell. And he says Willow won't even talk to him.
Mm-hmm.
And Buffy's like, yeah, I don't really blame her.
It's going to require a lot of groveling. Because she really did love him.
She loved you before you evoked the roofie spirit. So this is like really hard on her. Yeah. And then Buffy brings up that she appreciated that Xander didn't take advantage of her.
Yeah.
Because she remembers everything.
Yeah, that was nice, yeah.
And also that her mom is repressing, she thinks, the fact that she had come on to one of Buffy's friends, like pretending like we're just not going to process that information. We're just going to put it in a box in our back of our brain.
Yeah.
And and she's like, there's hope for you yet because you did the right thing in the end.
Yeah.
And he's like, why don't you tell Cordelia that? She's like, oh, you're on your own there. Like, I'm not helping you with Cordelia. So in the quad, Xander's walking by Cordelia and Harmony and Co. And she's making fun of Xander, the way he's dressed, and then starts making fun of somebody else as well.
Glad your mom stopped working at the drive-thru long enough to dress you.
Yeah, that's
his
mother making fun of, like, Xander is not financially stable family.
That's so mean.
He's like poor. And then to say that about his mom and how he dresses, like, all of it's just on so many levels just mean and cruel.
God.
Yeah. And he just kind of keeps walking and doesn't stand up for himself. But Cordy just has had enough at that point. And tells Harmony she's a sheep and that I'm not a sheep. I'm going to do what I want and date who I want. No matter how lame he is. And Xander's like looking from like, the distance, like happy. And then he's like, oh. Like when she says that, his face falls. He's like, she was doing so good until she insulted me.
And then she starts walking away, and she's like, oh God, like what have I done?
Instant regret, like oh God, like I did that. Oh my God. He's like, just keep walking, and he's like, they'll talk to you again. They will. And he's like, when we're together, we can fight in front of them all the time. Don't worry. And that's the end of the episode. So they're
guarantee it.
They're back together.
Yeah.
And Cordelia's finally cut the cord with her like popularity contest. So desperate to be popular.
Yeah.
So that's the end of the episode. Okay, my favorite quote was, "Why don't you rip her lungs out? That might make an impression." And he just says, "Lacks poetry." Spike, "Doesn't have to. What rhymes with lungs?" Our little Spike scene, but it had a good little thing there. And then my favorite scene, I said, was the big library scene. I say it's kind of cheating because it was like half the episode, but that from when Xander comes into the library, and then it ends with like Jenny leaving the library, like all that stuff happens with Buffy and Giles, Buffy turning into the rat, Amy and Buffy fighting, Amy and like Giles, all the stuff he says, Oz coming in, like that's all one scene.
Yeah.
And so I picked that because like so much happened. So it contained a lot of good stuff.
Okay, yeah.
So it's a little bit of a cheat, I feel like, but it technically is a scene.
I don't know if it's a cheat.
It's like the easy way out.
My favorite line is that one where, like, Buffy's naked in the boiler room with Oz, and she's like, I seem to be having a slight case of nudity here. I just thought that was so funny.
Yeah.
And then, I don't know, my favorite scene, I mean, like, I actually really liked the scene where Spike gave Drusilla the necklace and Angel walks in with the heart. I know it's, like, gross, but I just really liked it. I thought it was really funny.
Mm-hmm. That is a good scene.
Yeah, I like that scene.
It's very interesting, their dynamic. Like, it
Yes.
keeps, like, pushing that
Yeah.
dysfunctional family situation.
That's right, I can relate.
So I gave it a 4 out of 5.
Okay.
I like that we saw Jenny and that she's trying to make amends. She didn't get too far because of the spell, but she's attempted twice in this episode.
Yeah.
So I thought that was good. I like to see her back. And poor Willow, like, she had a great episode and a bad episode.
Yeah.
She's so happy in the beginning, and then, like, all that stuff with Xander just gets dredged up again. And I can't remember, honestly, in the next episode if we get a resolution, if we see a resolution between Willow and Xander. I hope we do.
Mm-hmm.
I can't remember exactly because a lot of other stuff happens in the next episode. But, she's not talking to him at the end of this episode. So I can't remember if that's just happens off screen or what. But, yeah, felt for Willow for sure in this episode.
Yeah.
I love the Oz and Willow stuff in the beginning. Like, they're
so
just, like,
cute. So cute.
Yeah.
I'm here for it.
So cute with each other, like, smiling from the stage with each other. I liked the stuff with Angel, Drew, and Spike, like that scene, and, like, Angel, like, grabbing Xander, and, like, Drew coming out of nowhere, like, part of the love spell. Like, I thought that was pretty good to get Drew into the love spell.
That was cute, yeah.
Yeah. I like how they tied them into the storyline. It really had nothing to do with them. Yeah. And then, but the timeline overall was muddy in this episode. There's a lot of, like, when did that happen? That doesn't make sense. Like, what? Like, it's muddy. Like, what happens when? Is it the same day? How many days has passed? How could something happen? It seems like it's only been a few hours, but then he's talking about the next day. Like,
I agree.
That was not good for me. It was distracting from the episode. Yeah. Yep. So, yeah, 4 out of 5.
Okay, I gave it a 4.3 just because I liked the witch aspect again. I thought that was really good. I liked the Osmond stuff too. I thought that was cute. I honestly liked the Xander and Cordelia stuff. I know Cordelia was kind of mean, but I like how she kind of realized she actually really does like Xander, and she did eventually kind of stand up to her mean girls, and yeah, I liked that. I liked how, like, Xander was trying to be a good boyfriend, like buying her a cute gift, trying to dress up nice for her. I didn't like that he felt the need to put a spell on her to make, just out of revenge. But I liked that he tried to fix it pretty quick. Like, he didn't let it go on too long before going to Giles, at least. And then also he didn't take advantage of Buffy when he could have. So I feel like in some ways we saw some emotional growth with him. In others, maybe not as much. But he is still just a teenage boy. So how much can I expect from him?
Yeah, I know. Do you notice that when he thought Buffy was genuinely interested, he was like, forget about the spell, forget Cordelia. Like, the one I kind of really want is interested in me now. Mm-hmm. But then that was only for, like, a few minutes until he realized it was the spell.
Yeah.
That was interesting.
Exactly. So, and then, yeah, everything with Giles in this episode was great.
Yeah.
Giles was great.
Poor Giles. Poor Giles.
I thought it was just an interesting timeline.
Yeah. Yeah. The timeline could have been stronger.
Yeah. And then, yeah, I didn't like the whole, like, it was just, I know the show tends to do this a lot with the cutting back and forth. Like, the boiler room, the library, back, forth. But this episode just seemed excessive. I was like, oh my God.
It's
like,
meant to,
at one point in my notes, I even wrote, like, boiler room, and then I just made a line because I was like, I'm not writing this.
Yeah. Yeah.
Forget it. I don't care.
It's meant to, like, build tension, but when you're making notes, that's why I'll, like, watch a few scenes. Like, I always watch it first before I take notes. I know you do it at the same time, so you don't know, like, what you're gonna, you're just doing it as you see it. But then I will just combine. Yeah, I'll, like, combine the storylines, like, so as much as it makes sense. So, yeah, there was a lot. They was trying to make it very tense.
Yeah.
Like, build the drama.
It didn't work for me.
Yeah. It's hard to take notes when it's like that, for sure. Yeah, so this was, like, a pretty lighthearted episode, and season 2 can be very dark. Not as dark as season 6. Season 6 is like, whoa. But season 2 is pretty, I would say, the second darkest season. So
okay.
they really intersperse these like light episodes.
Okay.
Because it's about to get dark again next week.
Great.
Yeah. Yeah. So next week, our episode's called Passion. Buffy gets another thoughtful gift from Angel. What is it? What do you think it is? Buffy doesn't have a puppy, so we know it's not a puppy nailed to anything.
So, I mean, this episode he gave her flowers, right?
Yeah, with that threatening card.
Yeah, but, like, nothing happened.
Mm-hmm.
Although he was in her window, so he was going to do something.
He tried. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And, like, if Xander hadn't have been there, he would have been trying to do something to her.
Yeah, that's what he said. I want to do something to her, but you'll do. Like, I'll kill you, leave you for her to find, and... yeah.
A thoughtful gift, I don't know.
And, you know, I say thoughtful, like, sarcastically.
Yeah,
because
I know.
Angel, he's
like,
a creep.
Like, gave Drusilla a heart, so... Like, it'd be interesting if he gave her, like, a body part of some sort, but they did that last episode, so I don't know if they would do that again. Okay, I'm just gonna go with a body part.
Okay. Body part it is. So that wraps up season 2, episode 16, Bewitched, Bothered, and Bewildered. Again, you can find us on all major podcast apps and YouTube and Instagram at One Girl in All the World Pod, and please give us 5 stars wherever you listen. You can email us at onegirlpod@gmail.com. Thanks for joining us, and we'll be back next week with season 2, episode 17, Passion. Slay real soon.
Bye.